The auction block on Kethvara station smelled like desperation and recycled air. I remember that smell even now, decades later, when I breathed the purified atmosphere of the Imperial Palace. Some memories don't fade, no matter how much power you acquire. My name is Lyra Sareth, though back then I was just commodity 7743K, a 17-year-old girl from a conquered world, standing in chains while alien merchants evaluated my worth. Decent bone structure, one of them said, a Corthian trader whose multiple eyes scanned me with clinical detachment. Strong enough for labor, young enough to train, pity about the defect. The defect. That's what they called the silver mark on my left shoulder, a birthmark shaped like a six-pointed star that branded me as cursed in the eyes of the Vaxian Empire. My entire planet, Sarethia, had been enslaved for harboring such genetic aberrations. Our cities were burned, our people scattered across the galaxy as property. I was sold for 600 credits to a mining consortium. Low price, even for a defect. They planned to work me to death in the thorium mines of Epsilon Tertius, where the average life expectancy was 3 years. Except I never made it to those mines. The transport ship carrying me and 300 other slaves was intercepted by an unknown vessel near the Sol system, Earth's neighborhood. Pirates, we thought. Or maybe raiders looking for easy cargo. Instead, the ship's AI malfunctioned catastrophically, life support failed, and escape pods launched automatically. Mine crash landed in the middle of somewhere called Montana, North American sector, Earth. Humans weren't supposed to be part of the galactic community yet. They'd been marked as a developing species, quarantined for their own protection until they achieved faster-than-light travel on their own. The Galactic Council's prime directive prohibited interference. But there I was, bleeding and broken in an escape pod, and there was Jonathan Reeves, a human rancher who found me half dead in his wheat field. He should have called his government, should have reported the alien spacecraft. Instead, he carried me to his home, called his daughter, who was studying xenobiology, and they saved my life. "Easy now," he said in his language, which my translator implant slowly decoded. "You're safe. Nobody's going to hurt you." Safe. I hadn't understood the word in years. The Reeves family didn't just save me, they gave me a home. Jonathan and his daughter Sarah hid me from authorities, taught me English, introduced me to human culture. And when I told them about the Empire, about the slaves, about the galaxy that Earth didn't know existed, they believed me. "Someone has to do something," Sarah said, her eyes fierce with the kind of idealism I thought had been beaten out of me. "We can't just let this continue." "Your species isn't ready," I replied. "You don't have the weapons, the ships, We have something better," Jonathan interrupted. "We have 300 years of fighting for freedom. Every revolution, every rebellion, every time humans stood up to tyrants and said, 'No more, that's our weapon, you just have to teach us how to use it.'" I stayed on Earth for 23 years. During that time, I didn't just hide, I learned. Earth had something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten, the memory of what it meant to fight for liberation. Their history was messy and violent and beautiful in its stubborn refusal to accept oppression. I studied their revolutions, American, French, Haitian, Chinese, Indian. I read their philosophers, Locke, Douglas, King, Mandela. I absorbed their strategies, their tactics, their unwavering belief that freedom was a right, not a privilege. And I taught them about the galaxy in return. Sarah became my closest friend and collaborator. Together, we worked in secret with Earth's best scientists and strategists. I showed them Vaxian technology, explained the Empire's structure, mapped its weaknesses. They built ships in hidden facilities, trained soldiers in tactics no galactic military would expect. But more than that, I showed them the truth about galactic slavery, the millions suffering under the Empire's rule. The conquered worlds, the broken families, the people like me who'd been branded defects and discarded. We're not ready for the galaxy, Earth's United Defense Coalition leader told me during one of our secret meetings. But maybe the galaxy needs us anyway. On my 40th birthday, the invasion pods I'd been tracking finally approached Earth. The Vaxian Empire had noticed unusual energy signatures from Sol system, human FTL experiments that had finally succeeded. They were coming to quarantine Earth permanently to prevent humanity from reaching the stars. They expected a primitive world. They found an army waiting. The Battle of Earth lasted 3 days. Human ships crewed by galactic standards but innovative in ways the Empire couldn't predict, struck with guerrilla tactics the Vaxians had never encountered. Earth's military had studied every insurgency in human history and applied those lessons to space warfare. And I led them. I stood on the bridge of the UDC flagship Liberator, wearing the uniform of Earth's newly formed Space Force, and I commanded the defense of my adopted home. The irony wasn't lost on me, a former slave leading humanity's first interstellar battle. We won. Barely. But we won. And then I did something that changed everything. We captured Admiral Kethros, the Vaxian commander. Instead of executing him, I brought him to the surface. Showed him Earth's history museums, the monuments to freedom, the documented horrors of slavery that humans had inflicted on themselves and ultimately abolished. Your species enslaved each other? Kethros asked, horrified and confused. And then we learned better, I replied. We fought wars to end it. We built societies on the principle that no being should own another. It took us centuries, and we're still not perfect. But we learned. I looked him in his 4 eyes. The Empire thinks slavery is natural, inevitable, economically necessary. Earth proved that's a lie. We're proof that societies can evolve beyond it. I gave Kethros a choice. Return to the Empire with our message, or stay and learn why freedom always defeats tyranny in the end. He stayed. Within 5 years, Earth became the center of the largest abolitionist movement the galaxy had ever seen. Human diplomats, backed by military strength the Empire could no longer ignore, spread across the stars. We didn't just free slaves, we gave them Earth's accumulated wisdom on building free societies. Sarah led the diplomatic corps. Jonathan, though old now, consulted on agricultural programs for liberated worlds. And I became something I never imagined. The freed slaves started calling me the Liberation Queen. Millions of beings from dozens of species, all of us marked with our various defects, all of us deemed unworthy by the Empire. We formed our own coalition, our own government, built on Earth's principles of liberty and self-determination. The Vaxian Empire collapsed from within as world after world rebelled, inspired by Earth's example and supported by human intervention. The Galactic Council, which had enforced the Prime Directive while ignoring slavery, was forced to acknowledge that humanity's interference had been morally necessary. 20 years after I returned to the stars, now commanding a fleet of liberation ships, both human and alien, I stood in the ruins of Kethvara Station. The auction blocks were being torn down, melted for scrap. Formerly enslaved beings worked alongside human engineers to convert the station into a university. Kethros, now my chief military advisor, stood beside me. "You know," he said, "when I first met you, I thought you were an anomaly, one defect who got lucky. And now I think the Empire was the anomaly. You showed us what we'd forgotten, that freedom is the natural state, slavery is the defect." He gestured to the construction around us. "Earth didn't just free the slaves, you freed all of us, including the Vaxians." Sarah joined us, her hair gray now, but her eyes still fierce. "The Council wants to meet with you, officially recognize the Liberation Coalition as a sovereign government." "Let them wait," I said, watching a group of former slaves, children who'd never known freedom, laughing as they played in the station's newly built park. "We have more important work to do." Because freedom wasn't just about breaking chains. It was about building something better in their place, and Earth had taught me that lesson well. 50 years after I first crashed in that wheat field, I sat in the chambers of the reformed Galactic Council as an equal, the elected leader of 300 liberated worlds, representing 2 billion free citizens who had once been property. The Council had changed. No more prime directive that protected developing species while ignoring atrocities. No more turning a blind eye to slavery for the sake of trade agreements. Earth's influence had reshaped galactic civilization. "Ambassador Sareth," the Council speaker addressed me formally, "your coalition has requested full membership and a permanent seat. Given your unusual circumstances, we have concerns about precedent." I smiled. "I understand, a former slave becoming a galactic power, a quarantined species becoming liberators. It doesn't fit your old categories, does it?" "No," the speaker admitted. "It does not." "Good." I stood addressing not just the Council, but the billions watching across the galaxy. Categories are what let the Empire thrive for so long. This species is advanced, that one is primitive. These beings are people, those are property, convenient boxes that let you ignore injustice. I touched the silver mark on my shoulder, the defect that had branded me worthless. Earth taught me that the only category that matters is this: sapient beings deserving of freedom and dignity. Everything else is just excuses for cruelty. The chamber was silent. "You want precedent?" I continued. "Here it is: the galaxy will never again permit slavery. Every sapient being has the right to self-determination, and if you won't enforce that principle, the Liberation Coalition will." "That sounds like a threat," one of the council members said. "It's a promise, and it's backed by the combined military might of Earth and 300 freed worlds. But more than that, it's backed by an idea that you can't kill with weapons or suppress with laws." I met each council member's eyes in turn. "The idea that freedom is worth fighting for, that's what Earth gave us, that's what will give the galaxy." The vote was unanimous. The Liberation Coalition joined the Galactic Council with full rights and privileges. But more importantly, the Slavery Abolition Act passed that same day with enforcement mechanisms that had teeth. The galaxy had changed forever. Jonathan Reeves died peacefully at the age of 103, surrounded by his family, including me. His last words were characteristically humble. "Guess that wheat field was good for something after all." I held his hand as he passed, this human who had risked everything to save one broken alien girl. He'd never sought glory, never asked for recognition. He'd just done what was right because it was right. His funeral was attended by representatives from 200 worlds. Former slaves, freed by the movement he'd helped start, came to pay respects to the human who'd sheltered their liberator. Sarah, now leading Earth's interstellar development program, gave the eulogy. My father used to say that you judge a society by how it treats the least fortunate. He saw Lyra broken in his field, and he didn't see an alien or a defect or a problem. He saw a person who needed help. Everything that came after, the liberation, the fall of the Empire, the new galaxy we're building, started with that simple choice. She looked at me, tears streaming down her weathered face. He taught us that freedom begins with seeing each other's humanity, even when that humanity looks different from ours. I'm 127 years old now by Earth's calendar. My species lives long, and the work of liberation is far from finished. There are still corners of the galaxy where beings are oppressed, where old systems cling to old cruelties. But we're winning. The universities built on former slave stations teach Earth's history alongside galactic civilizations. Children across hundreds of worlds learn about the Reeves family and the small farm that became the birthplace of revolution. Human and alien work side by side, united by principles Earth never abandoned even in its darkest times. I stand sometimes in the memorial garden on Sarethia, my homeworld, free now for 30 years, and I think about the girl who stood on those auction blocks, who thought her life would end in thorium mines, who believed the Empire when it called her defective. That girl would never believe what we've built, what we're still building. The galaxy isn't perfect. Earth taught me that perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Constant, difficult, sometimes painful progress toward a more just universe. And if a slave girl can become a queen, if a quarantined world can liberate the stars, if a defect can change the galaxy forever, then anything is possible. I touch the silver mark on my shoulder, the defect that the Empire feared. I know now why they feared it. Not because of superstition, but because beings marked like me, different, uncontrollable, refusing to fit their categories, we're the ones who change the world. Sarah's granddaughter, newly appointed as Earth's ambassador to the outer systems, joins me in the garden. She carries her great-grandfather's stubbornness and her grandmother's fire. Ready for the next phase? She asks. The expansion worlds are requesting Liberation Coalition support for their independence movements. I smile. The work never ends. But that's what freedom requires: eternal vigilance, endless effort, the refusal to rest while even one being remains in chains. Always ready, I say. Earth taught me well, and together, human and alien, we walk toward the future we're building. A galaxy without slaves, a cosmos based on freedom, a civilization that remembers what matters most. All because a rancher in Montana chose kindness over fear and an exiled slave girl refused to forget what she'd learned about liberation. The galaxy will never be the same, and that's exactly how it should be.